In the grim darkness of the far future, only the strongest will triumph. In this episode, we unveil the secrets of ancient wisdom with cutting edge AI to forge strategies that will help you dominate on the battlefield. Prepare to lead your forces to victory as we dive into the tactics, strategies, and insights that will allow you to win with Dark Angels. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Miniatures Tavern. My name is Watts, and today we're going to learn how to win with Dark Angels. So the Win With series is a series where I take all the data sheets, the rules, and scenarios of every combat patrol box available from Games Workshop, and then I run some analysis against the data, and I have my advanced language model come up with tactics and scenarios that you can use in order to win in battles of combat patrol. So let's go ahead and get started. So looking at the original Dark Angels Combat Patrol, our first model is Chaplain Mordecai. He's going to be your warlord, and he's wielding an Absolver pistol and the mighty Corsius Arcanum. He's leading with both spiritual and physical might. Next up, you have a 5-man Intercessor squad. This is the versatile backbone of 5 models, including a sergeant with enhanced weaponry, capable of holding ground and delivering precise bolt rifle fire. Then you have the Inceptors, 3 dynamic models equipped with assault bolters, perfect for rapid strikes and aggressive board control. And then rounding out the combat patrol, we have the Redemptor Dreadnought, which is a heavily armored behemoth with a macro plasma incinerator and onslaught Gatling cannon, and this is designed to lay waste to dense enemy formations. So now that we've been introduced to the different units in this combat patrol and are starting to get like a clearer picture of how they're going to work for you on the battlefield, the next up is we need to understand their capabilities. So I asked the language model, how are these units in the Dark Angels Combat Patrol best suited to help a player win games? And this is what it came up with. First up, we have Chaplain Mordecai. He's going to be your leader, and in Combat Patrol, he's going to be your warlord. Remember, he's got the Absolver pistol and the Corsius Arcanum. His ability and your army rule is Oath of Moment, which allows re-rolling hit rolls against a designated target, enhancing his and his unit's effectiveness in taking down priority enemies. Now, he can be attached to the Intercessors, so you're going to get those 5 Intercessors with -1 AP on their bolt rifles and damage, and he's going to be able to buff them. Leadership buffs. He provides morale and combat buffs to surrounding units, crucial for maintaining combat effectiveness and unit cohesion. And finally, melee combat. The Corsius Arcanum makes him a formidable opponent in melee, capable of dealing significant damage. Him and your Intercessor Sergeant are probably going to be your 2 heftiest melee units in the Intercessor unit. And I believe we're going to take a look at the Intercessors next. Yep, next up we have the Intercessors. Their role in your Combat Patrol army for games is going to be core infantry. The composition is 5 models, including the Sergeant. The 4 models are equipped with bolt rifles and close combat weapons, both bolt pistols, and your Sergeant can take a power weapon, and I highly recommend that you do that. Their abilities, what they excel at, is number 1, versatility. They can engage in both ranged and close combat. Their bolt rifles offer effective long-range fire, while the Sergeant's power weapon boosts melee capabilities. So you're going to have the Chaplain and you're going to have your power weapon. Everyone else is going to have, close combat weapons, but you can get some punch there with that cohesiveness. And finally, these guys are great objective holders. They're excellent at holding and securing objectives due to their resilience and firepower. And I believe that these models in Combat Patrol have 2 objective control points. Next, we have the Inceptors. Their role on the battlefield is going to be for fast attack. Remember, they do have the deep strike keyword, so they can come in at the end of your movement phase in turn 2. They can also, be deployed in your opponent's backfield. So if you have any secondary missions that require you to hold the opponent's backfield or objective marker to score, these are great for that. They're equipped with assault bolters and close combat weapons, or as I like to call it, punchy fists. They have some really strong abilities and really great ways to play them. Number one is mobility. They're equipped with jump packs, allowing for dynamic movement across the battlefield and ideal for quick repositioning and engaging in flanking maneuvers. Firepower, their assault bolters provide a high rate of fire, making them effective against infantry and lightly armored targets. And finally, shock assault. They can perform devastating charge attacks, disrupting enemy lines and providing openings for other units. Then finally, we have the Redemptor Dreadnought. His role on the battlefield in games of combat patrol is going to be heavy support. He's equipped with the Icarus rocket pod, the Macro Plasma Incinerator, the Onslaught Gatling Cannon, twin Fragstorm grenade launchers, and a Redemptor Fist. So he has a plethora of weapons to kind of lay down some ground fire for the rest of your units. His abilities that he's going to excel at in games of combat patrol: number one, firepower. He's going to offer a diverse arsenal capable of targeting a wide range of enemy units, from infantry to aircraft, with its varied weaponry. Finally, next up, durability. He's highly resilient with the capability to withstand substantial amounts of incoming fire, making it an ideal unit to anchor your battle line. Maybe he sits on your home objective and he has clear vision of firing lanes to be able to lay down some ground fire for you, cover so that you can move your other units into position. And finally, he is a powerhouse in melee. The Redemptor Fist provides powerful close combat capabilities, allowing it to crush enemy vehicles and fortifications. So he can definitely take out some higher toughness targets. You might also want to use him for that. So now that we've taken a look at the units in the Combat Patrol box and what best roles they may fit into on the battlefield, we asked the advanced language models to come up with some strategies based on all that data that would give a Dark Angels player an advantage on the battlefield in games of Combat Patrol, and this is what it came up with. In your early game deployment and mobility, this is like the start of the game, Chaplain Mordecai should be positioned to maximize his leadership and aura abilities, bolstering nearby units, especially during critical pushes or defensive stands. His role is central to not only in combat, but in boosting the moral and effectiveness of the troops around him. Next, your Inceptors. With their jump packs, they are perfect for aggressive early game deployments. You can use their mobility to seize forward objectives quickly, or if you go second, you can use their mobility to flank enemy positions. And finally, you can hold them off the board in deep strike because their ability to deep strike allows them to bypass frontline engagements and target vulnerable units in the enemy's rear or contest high value objectives. A lot of time during games, players will leave not their chunkiest and toughest units on home objectives, but some squishier, less dominant models on their objectives in their backfield. So this is a great opportunity for those Inceptors to come in at the end of the movement phase in your second turn and really just harass the backfield, make an aggressive push, lay down tons of bolter fire, and try to snag that backfield objective to score those points. As you reach the mid-game and you're fighting for board control, you really want to do board control and firepower management. You want to use the Intercessor Squad and utilize them for maintaining control over key objectives. Their versatility in both ranged and melee combat makes them reliable units for holding ground. You want to position them in cover or near objectives where they can leverage their bolt rifles for defense and counterattacks. Also, if you keep them in cover inside the profile of ruins, if the footprint of the ruin happens to be over an objective marker, they do get that +1 to save, making them a little bit more durable. These guys are workhorses. I run them in my combat patrols. I run them in my larger games. When I play my Black Templars, they put in work, and 9 out of 10 times, unit of intercessors survives the entire battle. So, finally, the Redemptor Dreadnought acts as a moving fortress, bringing considerable firepower and durability to wherever it is needed most. Utilize its varied armaments to adapt to the threats at hand. For instance, the Macro Plasma Incinerator is excellent against heavily armored foes, while the Onslaught Gatling Cannon can mow down lighter infantry squads. The Redemptor's presence can help push through heavily contested midfield areas or reinforce weakening lines. And then finally, as you get into the late game elimination and objective securing, you definitely want to make sure you take advantage of the Oath of Moment. That's an army rule. The language model put it as Mordecai's rule. I guess that makes sense because he's the warlord, but that's your army rule, Oath of Moment. So use Chaplain Mordecai's Oath of Moment to ability to designate and dismantle priority targets that could swing the game in the late stages. His combat prowess allows him to duel enemy characters effectively or disrupt units crucial to the enemy's strategy. As the game progresses, you want to use your Inceptors. They can transition from objective capturers to shock troops, disrupting enemy lines and targeting weakened units trying to hold objectives. Their assault bolters are excellent for clearing out entrenched units. The Intercessors by the late game should continue to hold and defend key objectives, utilizing their durability and steady damage output. They can also act as a reactionary force, moving to bolster areas under heavy attack or to close gaps in your battle line. And finally, in the late game, the Redemptor Dreadnought should be used to break through any remaining enemy strongholds or to anchor your own defensive. Its impressive range and firepower make it a constant threat to the enemy that the enemy must address, drawing fire away from your more vulnerable units. And yes, that is 100% true. The Redemptor is going to have a huge target on it, so just keep that in mind. But it has a 2-up save, so I think you're going to be okay. You know what I mean? It's got a 2-up save, and you have some stratagems that you can use to make it a little bit more durable. So that is your early, your mid, and your late game strategic play that AI came up with. So it sounds pretty decent. And finally, as we come to the end of the video, the advanced language model came up with some tactics and tips to hopefully give you an advantage and a leg up on the battlefield to crush your opponent and walk away with the victory. First thing is maximizing Chaplain Mordecai's buffs. You want to synergize abilities. Always keep Chaplain Mordecai close to your main assault forces, especially the Inceptors and the Intercessors. His ability and your army rule to reroll hit rolls is crucial and increases the overall damage output for your units significantly. Position him strategically to benefit the most units within his aura range. Focus targeting. Again, utilize the Oath of Moment ability to designate high-value targets such as enemy leaders or heavily armored units. This not only focuses your attacks, but also ensures that your key units are striking where they will impact the most, especially if combined with precise firepower from the Redemptor Dreadnought. The next tactic and trick is employ dynamic movement with the Inceptors. They have flexible engagement. Take advantage of the Inceptor's mobility to threaten multiple areas of the battlefield. Their ability to deep strike gives you the option to place them where they are needed most during the second or third turn, which can be crucial for breaking enemy lines or quickly shifting the focus of your attack. Also, disruption tactics. Use the Inceptors to disrupt enemy formations and target weaker or isolated units. Their assault bolters are effective against both infantry and lightly armored targets, making them ideal for softening up the enemy before a major push or to pick off some units that maybe have strayed from main forces. And then finally, strategic positioning of the Redemptor Dreadnought. He's going to act as a central anchor. You want to position the Redemptor Dreadnought in central locations where it can exert influence over large portions of the battlefield with its diverse weaponry. Its presence can deter enemy advances and protect key objectives. It's also going to provide you layered defense. Use the Redemptor to provide a layered defense for your more vulnerable units. Its high durability and potent firepower make it an excellent shield against enemy attacks. In offensive roles, lead with the Redemptor to absorb initial enemy fire, protecting your infantry as they advance. And finally, weapon optimization. Be tactical with your weapon choices on the Redemptor Dreadnought. Switch between the Microplasma Incinerator's standard and supercharge modes based on the threat level. Use supercharge against tougher enemies, but be cautious of its hazardous nature. Utilize the Onslaught Gatling Cannon and twin Fragstorm grenade launchers to clear out clustered enemy infantry. And guys, that's a wrap on this episode of the Miniatures Tavern. I hope you've enjoyed this episode and that you're now equipped to lead your Dark Angels to victory with AI-powered strategies and unbeatable tactics. If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss an update. If you got questions or want to share your own Dark Angel victories, drop a comment below. If you want to see me do another win with for a specific faction, drop a comment below. Until next time, may your dice rolls be true and may your strategies be flawless. Happy wargaming, everyone.